Claude asks, Wiz cranks out magical monsters. I'll cheer with a smile and a tackle. A loony badge.
What are we doing today, Will? Well, we're doing random arts in completely randomised styles. There's no theme, no sort of edge to work towards. This is all completely free roam and free range. And we're going to be doing it over the course of a week because I really want to extend how far I can go with this. I'm going to try and do as many pieces as I can and hopefully get about 6 or 7. Well, this would be true, except it's already been done. See, basically, over the last week or so, I spent around 45 hours or over just doing straight art, and it went absolutely great. And I guess the idea on this challenge was to kind of let loose on my arty element to really see what I could come up with. And I'm shrinking. Before we jump in though, I thought I might just let you know that I have actually started up commissions, which is really exciting for me. It means I get to share art on a much more personal level with some of you guys, and I've actually left my social links in the description down below for your convenience. They'll also be at the end of the episode. But if you want to get a commission, DM me via Tumblr or Instagram, like I said, socials in the description or at the end of the video. You can check it out there, and the full post and explanation is on all of those platforms as well. In addition, I also have a fully set up Patreon. That's right, everything is kicking off this year. There's a couple of tiers over there you can access via paid membership, and there's also some free stuff as well. There's also 7-day free trials, so you can try the stuff out before you actually go ahead and buy it. There's a small shop there too, which means you can actually purchase digital products from previous and future videos to have yourself, and it's all around just great general support. You'll get access to a private Discord server where you'll be able to suggest things for future videos, which may get seen more than the comments. There's also Q&As, there's NSFW content or less PG stuff on one of the tiers, and there's also a couple other things that you might want to check out. If you want to head over now, it's at patreon.com/creatures and characters, and I cannot wait to see the new members. Anyway, other than that, let's jump right in.
Right, so kicking straight off, the first thing you may notice on day one and all throughout this is that I'm actually filming with a different camera angle. I honestly think this works better and you can actually grasp a better image of the whole piece. It is slightly angled so you can see the whole of the laptop and not just the screen. I still haven't figured out how to screen record like properly, and one that actually works with files and things. If you've got any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. I really would definitely like to know, but it just works way better than top view, because with the top view where the light reflects, I can't actually see the screen too well, whereas where I'm working like this, obviously it's facing me better, so it's easier visibility for me to draw. The other thing is the intro. I don't know how many of you will have got this, was actually an anagram of itself, which is, I guess, playing into the random theme. Anyway, starting out here, I was actually using my favourite brush, which is kind of like this Painterly sketch brush, and I use it for a lot of abstract things, a lot of sketchings, and this is also kind of like very monotone, very grey tone thing. I tried to go a bit creepy and surrealist, and it's actually based off a silhouette I saw. Day 2 was an interesting one, and at this point you'll notice that I'm using coolers for the, I guess, colour variation on the things. Now this one I wanted to go quite geometric, quite simple, but also kind of pushing colour to a point where it really kind of gives the piece a personality. And so I tried to work in gradients quite a lot into this one. Again, we're going with that more simple sort of style, but then effectively using the shading all across the piece in various sort of values and tones and hues to kind of give it a very sort of sharp, edgy sort of landscape. The original idea was to do this one in a dystopian style, but because, as I will mention, I don't really pick the styles out, they kind of just flow in and then I go with them and keep pushing them. I don't take stuff out, which is why this one got pushed so far into this. And to be honest, I'm absolutely overwhelmed with happiness by this one, because it did genuinely turn out quite well. It kind of reminds me of Star Wars a bit. If you've seen Strange Worlds on Disney Plus, quite good. But it all seems very alien, and although I was originally going to more models of Dune perspective, it turned out amazing. Now, day 3, 4 and 5 was an interesting one, because although it seemed conceptually like a really simple piece, the style I was going for in this one, in my head, well, it seemed really simple, but the amount of time it took to do this was mad, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. I tried to go with like a comic booky style for this one, and I'd actually previously seen the trailers for GXK, Godzilla v Kong, the new movie that's coming out. I thought I might do some sort of inclusion of Shimu, or Shimo, the new Titan, the Ice Titan, that's meant to rival Godzilla, Ghidorah, Kong, and possibly even the Scar King in some way. And then there's also Dune Part 2 coming out, and I also previously watched Dune Part 1, Dune, yeah, whatever. And I really, really like the universe that it's set in and all of that, but something that really stands out to me is the sandworms, especially from the original movie and how they've converted into the new media. I did go for the original style, but upscaling it to kind of the new movie sort of thing. So I've kind of essentially done a fight between Shai-Hulud, which is essentially the main sandworm, or the sandworm species, on Arrakis, which is the planet they inhabit in Dune. And they are essentially entangling and trying to constrict Shimo, the Ice Titan. I didn't really get a full sense of scale for these creatures, so I did try my best to kind of scale it to normality, but it could be completely off, to be honest. Also, if this fight did happen, who do you think would win? So, I think I essentially used the same principles of colour and technique for this one, which is sketch, which by itself looked epic, by the way, so I might actually release that as a colouring bit at some point, or possibly even a colouring book, which could be really, really cool. So there was the sketch, which was actually based off of a picture of a snake constricting a goat, so that was really, really helpful. Then there was the line work layer, which again could be used in a colouring book. It looked like a colouring book page. Then there was the base colour, which was very geometric and sharp. And then finally we had the... no, there wasn't. It was the base colour, then it was the additional colours, then the colour tones and values, and on top of that shadows and highlights, which gets a bit difficult because I had to do it for every single scale on this piece, as I did for every single spine with the tones and values and highlights. So a lot of work into this one, which is why I think it took so long, because there's so many sort of intricate pieces that have to work together. Because the problem is, if you miss out a single piece on this sort of artwork or this piece, it means that the whole thing kind of falls apart, and you'll spot that one thing and it will just make it look, well, not as present as it should, I guess. And I was actually finding it really interesting with the colour palette. So there is a contrast here, obviously, between the, I guess, powers of the beasts, but also in the fact of the colour. Shimo is very sort of bright and white and pinks and blues, which I wasn't really sure if it's canon. I don't know if the purple and pink reflections are just from Godzilla in the photo that I had as reference, but I've decided to include them anyway. I think it adds a bit more personality, just rather than having two colours there. And it also, again, adds a bit of contrast to Shai-Hulud, the massive, massive sandworm, who is essentially just brown and sort of sandy coloured. And I did actually go for a more shriveled look with Shai-Hulud than the sort of more rough textured one in the new Dune film. But by far, I think Shimu took the longest out of both pieces here. As you can see, we're just rushing through it. But this was at least, I think it was 5 hours a day, or over 5 hours a day. And what I realised at this point is that I'd actually done way more work than I needed to, because, as you can see, Shai-Hulud wraps over the top of Shimu's neck. So what I actually did here, rather than erasing my work, because it felt quite sentimental to me, was to duplicate the layer, do a bit of erasing, and that's still underneath, but the duplicated layer of Shai-Hulud is body actually rolls over the top. So that's all still there, but it does show as something different, as you'll see in a minute. So there is still a bit of hard work and sentiment there about the piece, I guess. And then I think it was just line work from here out and extra details on Shai-Hulud and Shimu, just kind of finishing effects. And I do believe I did add some glow as well. And there we go. Again, the sketch looks epic, and so does this finished piece. I wasn't too sure about the blue though. Now, the penultimate sort of piece or artwork, which was, I believe, the fourth, because, again, Shai-Hulud and Shimu took up 3 days out of the 7 that I had. This piece was kind of pushed towards more reference and pictures that I myself had taken from the world around me, as other pieces were. But this one was more forced, as in more physical things rather than conceptual things I'd seen via reflections or shadows, because these are drawn from clouds. And I was really trying to push out sort of animal figures, so I wasn't just using the outline, I was really kind of in-working lines into the inner parts of the clouds as well, if that makes sense. I actually got my colours from Coolers as well, and these turned out incredibly cutesy and really, really fun to do, and I would really want to try this again at some point with some other mediums and some other bits I can reference from, and you should try this yourself. I think the dragon is probably one of the cutest things on here, and the crocodiles as well are so adorable. And I actually did this while binging Delicious Dungeon on Netflix, so I got a bit of inspiration from the animals in there, which was quite fun. Which is great. I think there's a new episode coming out tomorrow. So tomorrow for me is Thursday, but for you guys it might be different. And lastly, I wanted to do a more simple piece, again sort of hitting that geometric side of things, but add a lot of pattern and texture into it as well, while also keeping it quite monotone and basic in a way. And I took this piece called Belshazzar's Feast, which is by a guy called Rembrandt. And I do find it really interesting, like the composure and the composition of the piece. It's really quite surreal. The outcome of this is I'm actually really genuinely happy with all of the pieces, and as you can see, they were all given quite random names with no relation or origin to the actual pieces themselves, which kind of just appear in my mind sometimes. I do it for a lot of my characters as well. And if you want to check out the world building projects, then I think there's a playlist on the channel, or you can just check around the channel, because pretty much anything I drew since 2023 is part of that. Also, please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow and share. It really helps out. It's great motivation and support for me to keep going, and it just shows that you really do support the content. I do just want to remind you again, I do have commissions set up, so if you want a personalised piece of art, then hit me up on Instagram or Tumblr. I'll leave my social links in the description, or they should be at the end of the video here. And I've also got a Patreon over at patreon.com/creatures and characters, which again is just general support, and there's also some exclusive content, behind the scenes stuff, and some things you wouldn't really see on the channel normally on membership tiers, which you do get free trials for. BT Dubs, thanks for watching, see you soon, and goodbye.